I'm not going to say I think we're live, but I just did. I think we're
You
live.
did. We are, yeah. Hello,
Yeah.
everybody. Hi. We're back 6 p.m. UK time on a Thursday to answer your questions about holistic veterinary medicine and the choices that we have for you. So as you know, I'm Caroline from the APNC. This is Dr. Lise Hansen with us. And today we have Anneke from the Netherlands or Holland, depending on which way you say it. Now, we've just been having the most fascinating chat with Anneke, which we said, you know, you're going to have to repeat all this. We have some fabulous questions to answer as well today, but we want to hear from Anneke. You've done some training, you were just telling us, with Lily Chen over in the USA into the microbiome and FMTs. It just sounds absolutely brilliant, the training. What was the training for vets specifically, or was it for anybody?
Specifically for vets who wanted to learn her specific method. So she did biome balance method. It's a method she developed. So it's normally FMTs, it's high dose under anesthesia, and you keep the animal under anesthesia, turn the animal around. And her method is just without anesthesia, and it's a low dose. So you do multiple low dose with weeks in between. And she had just had such amazing results with it that I was like, I need to learn this.
Yeah,
I want to do this too. So yeah,
it's
been really interesting. Yeah,
we've got FMT tablets in the UK.
Yeah.
But that's it. I don't think the sort of anesthesia side of FMT has been done or being done. I mean, I could be wrong.
Oh, no, it is for sure. I mean, it
Oh,
is.
it
Even
is.
15 years ago, the Royal College were doing it.
Oh,
Yeah. No,
wow, there
people are
we
doing it.
are.
Yeah.
Just didn't tell those of us that need to know about it.
They do it in human medicine as well.
Yes,
Mm.
I knew that,
Yeah.
But it just sounds really extreme, doesn't it? When you think you can do it with a tablet, that you then have to put the animal under. But yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if the tablet works just as well. Also depends where you have the problem, no? Whether you have an upper or a lower gastrointestinal tract.
Yeah.
I can imagine if it's like the small intestine, maybe tablets will reach it, but in the colon, not sure the tablet's going to get there, and rectal might be better, but yeah.
So in very practical terms, when you've done this course and you want to try it out, I mean, what do you do? Where do you have to find a donor dog?
You have a couple of options. So you have some commercial options. So for example, Animal Biome from America, they have freeze-dried feces that you can get just in powder form, and you just have to put some water with it, make a solution, and use that. There's also this really amazing woman in America, Margot Roman. Don't know if you know her.
I feel like I've heard of her.
Yeah, she has the 7th generation of dogs that she's raising, especially for donors, for FMT. And she has them fed organically. She has her whole home organically. The dogs don't get any medications or antibiotics or anything. So they're just as pure as they can be. So you can order from her. And of course, you can find your own donor. But I'm pretty specific with my donor. So it's not always easy to find one that's where I wanted to have. Yeah.
So how have you, because you've just started doing this, haven't you?
Yeah.
How have you gone about it? Have you used I can just imagine filling out the import papers, what does this package contain? What's the value and what?
Actually, with Animal Biome, it actually is pretty easy. I just order it there and they send it over, and they just make sure that everything is okay. So no,
So you just mix it with water and
just mix it
ready
with
to go.
water, put it in a syringe, and import it. Yeah.
And that was my next question. So when you do the small doses, it's just a syringe.
It's just a syringe and a small catheter. You can put a little bit of local anesthetic on the anus if you want to, if you have a sensitive animal. And you just shove it in the same way you take an animal's temperature, actually, only the thermometer is a little bit longer. And you just put it in and then hope that they don't poo it out in the first half an hour.
And they don't have to lie down or
no, they can just stand or sit, or sit is maybe not better, but lie down or stand, and no, most animals that accept taking a temperature will do this too. Yeah.
It certainly is another way for the FMT, For those of you that are just hopping on now and wondering what on earth we're talking about, shoving things up dogs' bottoms, that's what we're talking about. Another
We
way
go
for
straight for the
FMT.
shit here when we yeah.
Right to the interesting part, yes.
Yeah. Exactly. We
Oh,
don't mess around. We go straight to the interesting bit.
We do
Yeah.
mess around, yeah. With cool.
tell us a little bit about your journey, Anneke. How did you become involved in the holistic side of veterinary medicine?
Yeah, so I just graduated a normal vet, like everybody else. Started out in horses, then transferred to small animals. After a couple of years, it was a combination of two things. So on one side, I was struggling with my own health and didn't find my answers within Western medicine. So I started trying out some things and actually noticed that they worked pretty well. And especially changing my diet really made a big difference for me. So that started me thinking, like, if that works for me, why not for my patient? And at the same time, I was noticing, like, so many chronic patients, I felt like I was not solving the problem. Like, I would put them on medication, but the moment they stopped the medication, they would come back. Like, I was suppressing the problem, I wasn't solving, and I was just, why do I have so many animals with allergies? Why do I have so many dogs with diarrhea? I was trying to find answers. And then this acupuncture course, coincidentally, I don't think coincidence exists, but it popped up. So I started doing that in Belgium. And that course just opened me up to different views of how health works, how medicine works. I met so many amazing people there. And that was the start. And after that, I didn't stop learning. So yeah, I did, I don't know, a lot of courses like normal acupuncture, neural acupuncture, natural nutrition, integrative nutrition, now the microbiome, some acupuncture masterclasses. So yeah, it just got me opened up of that there's just so much more out there, and also especially like trying to find the root cause. So not just suppressing and not just giving an allergy patient prednisone and call it good, but really trying to find what's going on here. Why is this animal having these problems? Yeah.
So that was an IVAS course by the sound of it.
It was an IVAS course.
Yeah.
It was amazing. We had 19 nationalities within our group. So it was really nice talking with all different people from different countries and seeing how they do things, how we do things. And yeah, it was amazing. Yeah, would recommend it to everybody.
It sounds very promising as well. You were telling us about the integrative veterinary surgery, or you basically have made it integrative by being there by the sounds of it.
Yeah.
They've let you come into their kind of mainstream Western practice, and it sounds so promising for the future.
It is. And in America, it actually is already a discipline in human medicine too, the integrative medicine. And it's, in this side of the world, it's fairly new. But yeah, I work in a combination. Like, I work in a Western hospital. I work with normal specialists, like cardiologists, oncologists, and yeah, they're very open to the ideas, and they're very open to discussing things and seeing new ways. And I think, yeah, it's very promising. I would really like to build a bridge, because I really think that we can help the patients the best if we use all of it, not one side, but all of it, and just look at what does this patient need. And for one patient, it might be acupuncture. For the other patient, it might be a combination of medicine and acupuncture. It's different for every patient. And I think once we start to really look at every patient individually and holistically, I think we can make a big difference. So yeah.
Absolutely, we can. Do you have many fresh food brands in Holland?
Yes, we do have quite a lot. Not all of them very...
Not all the same standard.
No. So yeah, we do have a lot. There's only a couple that I really recommend. I find it really hard to find brands that are really transparent. Most brands, they don't seem to be complete when I look at the ingredients. And some brands say that they are complete, but then when I ask them for an analysis of what's in there, I don't get it. So I like to work with brands that are just open and honest and give me the data that I want. Yeah,
that makes sense. Yeah, the ones that are really trying, to make a difference.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, I'm glad it's over there. I'm glad you do at least have a few brands over there. That's great.
Yeah, we have quite a lot. So, and I'm not quite sure if it's just as many people, because for my feeling, there's more people in England working with fresh food than there are
yes,
in
we
here.
have a heck of a lot.
Yeah, but I think it's growing a little bit. So yeah, that's good.
Is your hospital, is it a first opinion hospital as well, or is it all referrals?
It's only referral. Yeah, referral and emergencies. Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, that's interesting, because we get the hard cases. So I like that. Yeah.
But I think we were saying before, I think it's such an important role that you have, and I think it's so important. I mean, I say it every time, but I'm going to say it again, you know, that we see that holistic therapies are, it's one tool, it's one specialty, and it has a place within all the specialty in veterinary medicine, and that it's not in conflict with conventional medicine at all. And you get that from both sides, you know, as if it's a completely alien world and we don't want anything to do with the conventional vets, or we don't want anything to do with holistic medicine. And it just harms everybody, and it harms the patients. Everybody suffers from that attitude, you know, and it's a tool that has a role to play alongside all the other tools. And I think it's so amazing that you know, to see when that works. I've worked in a clinic as well where that was the case, and it's just win-win for everybody.
Yeah, it really helps, and it pisses me off when I see people on the holistic side shaming vets, and those vets do all this, and vets are not right, and they don't know anything about nutrition, and then in the other side you have holistic people who are like, oh, don't use prednisone, don't do this, don't do that. And I think, yeah, when it's just working together, that makes things better.
Yeah. There's a lot of prejudice on both sides, and it's just so harmful. And it's really nice when it all works, everybody can work together.
Yeah, and I think
oh no, go on. I was just going to say, I liked your sentence that you said before, though, Anneke, where you're looking at the evidence and you're standing in front of the vets that you work with at this integrative practice or this hospital, and you're saying, I have seen more evidence for acupuncture than Librela. So you're opening up to the fact that you're still looking for evidence, and that's how it is. You know, that's how it's been for you.
Yeah, and there is a lot of evidence out there, and some more than others. But in Western medicine, we also don't have evidence for everything. I don't think we need to have evidence for everything. And there's also like scientific research. It's not a saint. Like there's a lot of mistakes made, and it's a lot of interpretation, and it's a lot of hypothesis you put on it. So it's not like when it's scientifically proven, it's true. And when it's not proven, it's not true. I don't think that works that way. And I think it works best when we look at the evidence we have, look at the patient, use our normal understanding, our general thinking, and then come up with the best plan for the patient. But for the Western vets, it really helps if you can just show them, this is the evidence. What I'm doing is evidence-based, and it's not,
Yeah, fantastic. Do you want to answer some questions? Do you have the questions, Lise?
They
are. Get them if you haven't.
No, I've got them. I've got them here. Okay. I put them on the they're on the Facebook page, because we've got a couple of questions that are quite long, and I copied them into the feed because they were sent to us in a direct message. So I just copied them there because they are quite long. The longest one is, and it sounds like a perfect question for Anneke, really, is Petra. Petra says, I'll just get the major points maybe. I have a 2.5-year-old cockapoo, raw fed since 1 year old, neutered at 2. Stools consistently small and odorless, no history of diarrhea. Worm count every 8 weeks, no flea or worming treatments or vaccines. Weight is stable, and she's a body score 5. Then she says, historically, since around the age of 9 months, she struggled with anal glands, gunky eyes, and unexplained episodes of gastric pain after breakfast. She would have hunched back, yelping, rigid posture, lasting around 10 minutes and then resolving on their own. Blood tests were negative for pancreatic or other issues. And there were some microbiome tests done, and it was stabilized. And she was symptom-free for 18 months on raw and whole foods. And then 3 weeks ago, she suddenly relapsed. The current episodes appear more reflux-like and happen before breakfast. Again, rigid posture, restlessness, shaking, lip licking, whimpering, lasting 5 to 10 minutes, and then she gradually settles, falls asleep and wakes up completely normal and ready to eat. At present, episodes can largely be prevented if meals are split into 3 smaller portions and she's given a buffer, which is warm turkey cod water with a small amount of slippery elm. If she's given that immediately on waking and again before bed, these episodes can largely be prevented. If either buffer is skipped, it almost reliably triggers an early morning or late night episode. Blood tests are normal, apart from slightly low folate. The vet thinks it's probably some sort of malabsorption, though her body weight and body condition are good. There's also talk of hyperacidity. And then she adds, the vet thinks it could also be small intestinal inflammation. I feel stuck at how to best address the inflammation. Her most recent episodes are now happening immediately post-break. Not quite sure what breakfast, probably, all right.
Yeah.
As she is now refusing to take slippery elm pre-breakfast buffer. Okay. Any advice on how to tackle the inflammation whilst still feeding either raw or gently cooked would be most appreciated. Did you get the gist of that? Episodes of pain that are presumably from the digestive tract,
Yeah.
that started young and then were solved and then recurred.
Yeah.
How would you approach a patient like that, Anneke?
Couple of things you can think about, because with how she's describing it, you would assume it's an upper gastrointestinal tract problem with reflux-like symptoms. Looks like it's mostly associated with an empty stomach, like she's saying, late in the evening, early morning. So you would go, maybe it's a GERD, reflex problem, or upper intestinal inflammation. So either the stomach or the small intestine that's going on there. So there's a lot of things you can do. You could think about repeating the microbiome test, because it was out of balance then and it's supported, but there was a reason it was out of balance in the first place. And maybe the reason why it went out of balance is not completely resolved, and it was okay then, but it slowly went back. So it might be a good idea to repeat that. I always, in these cases, you can never completely exclude some kind of food sensitivity. So sometimes I do try an elimination diet to see if that makes a difference in these patients. And yeah, another thing you can, if you go more to the Western side, you could think about an endoscopy, but it depends on how bad the symptoms are, how much trouble this dog is having from it. If the symptoms are not very bad, I would try to work with the diet. You can add some supplements to try to lower the inflammation. A couple of them I like is like omega-3, glutamine, depending on how the dog responds to that. So yeah, there's a couple of things I would think about. I don't know, but I'm really curious what you would do.
I mean, I'm a homeopath, and I would,
Yeah.
these are a large proportion of my patients are, gastritis, IBD, IBS type issues. So that inflammation I would absolutely address with homeopathy.
Yeah.
And I think it's lovely that, there are different ways, there's different ways to address this dog's immune system. And also, one approach doesn't rule out the other. It's all of these things can definitely be done together.
Yeah, definitely.
But I would, to me, this could be a very good homeopathic patient. The one thing that struck me was, I mean, and it obviously not doing any harm, but I just wonder why this dog has a worm count every 8 weeks, unless there has been issues with recurring issues of parasites. That seems, I mean, it's not doing any harm. It just seems a bit unnecessary to me.
Yeah, I wouldn't do that often either, unless you've had a problem. I don't know if they had Giardia when they were young. Sometimes these patients are young Giardia patients and they keep on problems. But yeah, usually I do it 2 to 4 times a year, depending on the history. Like if they're always negative, I go for 1 or 2 times a year. If they sometimes have problems, 4 times a year. But yeah.
Yeah, I think it's extra vigilance on the part of the guardian there, just
Yeah,
trying to sort of really know
it
what's
doesn't
going
harm.
on.
But yeah,
But
I mean,
costs
I would
money.
certainly say if they're consistently negative, then that seems a bit
Yeah.
silly.
yeah,
But of course, it's not. It's non-invasive and it doesn't do any harm. It just sounds a bit odd to me.
yeah.
Mm.
My bird is deciding to cooperate. So if it's very annoying, let me know.
Your bird, did you
Yeah,
say pet bird?
you don't hear her?
No,
No,
sadly, no. I'd quite like
Okay.
I
to.
want to. You
Yeah.
need to turn the camera now and show us what kind of bird is it.
I have a cockatiel and an African grey. And sometimes when I'm in Zoom meetings, they like to cooperate. So I'm always a bit worried that it sort of is annoying for the other people. But so if it gets annoying, let me know.
Oh, could you put
No, it
one on your
wouldn't
shoulder and
do.
we'll continue the.
Oh, won't do that. They will tear down my computer, I'm afraid.
Oh, okay. They have to stay where they are.
Oh, I'd love.
Yes.
Oh, bless them. You'll have to put a photo on the thread of the
Yeah,
I can do
live.
it. I have lots of
Yeah.
pictures. Yeah, they're in, and one of them talks, so that's really nice.
Oh, bless.
Oh, I really want to see these birds. Hopefully, we'll get to hear them. That sounds good.
I think going back to Petra's dog, we did have a chat with the lady from Animal Biome last week with
Yeah.
the student group, and she was suggesting FMT. I mean, that is her bag, so she's going to do that. But she certainly made it clear that that was an option. I wonder, with the dog being that bit younger, whether it is possible to maybe try other things first before going down that route, though.
Yeah, and one option is to actually test the microbiome because then you know if it's really if it's out of balance and you would
Yeah.
need FMT or not.
I don't know whether she had a second test with this dog.
I don't
We'll
know.
have to find out. But what do you think about possible B12 issues going on
Yeah,
though for
I
this
was
dog?
wondering because she said that folate was low. Normally, when they measure folate, they also measure B12. So I'm
Yeah,
assuming they measured it, but I'm not sure.
maybe they did and it was fine.
It's also like if IDEX says it's fine, I don't always agree with IDEX.
Yeah. What's the parameter there? Yeah.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
IDEX usually the reference range is actually they go quite low and still say it's okay. But I would say let's start supplementing. So it might be worthwhile to look at the actual number there.
Yeah.
I find it's almost always low if you've got this chronic intestinal inflammation is low, but then very often the vets will just supplement, and it almost appears as if there was a problem. B12 was low. We've put them on a B12 supplement. We've addressed the issue. But in my mind, that's not addressing the issue at all. It's a fine thing to do. But why was it low? I mean,
Yes,
we haven't
exactly.
really.
Yeah.
It's not
Yeah.
that they were born deficient with B12 and that's caused all their problems. I'm sure it's rather probably a consequence rather than a
like a
primary cause.
Yeah, for me,
Sorry,
for me,
go on. I interrupted.
yeah, it's like a biomarker of something going
Yeah.
on with the intestines.
Yeah.
And you need to correct it because when it's really low, you can do all the other stuff. But when you don't supplement and then it stays low, you're not going to solve the diarrhea and the problems. But yeah, it's also where is it coming from and why is it low?
Yeah, exactly. You need to supplement it, but it's not the end of the treatment. It's almost just the beginning.
Yeah.
But I mean, this dog apparently has normal stools. It's pain.
Yeah.
Like you say, it's
Yeah.
upper.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. But
Which it sounds also as well, and I know that Petra asking this will have heard it. There's a lady that's also on the course with Petra who is really deep diving at the moment into gluten allergies in dogs. And she's probably said this, but for the purposes of other people watching this as well, that have a dog showing similar symptoms, I think that could be possibly something to look into because it is much more easy to manage when they're on a fresh food diet, which is of course when the shifts and changes happen. So whether it's worth getting like one of these gliadin tests to see whether the dog does have these allergies, because if they've developed over the time and then it just so happened that some of this got in the bowl somehow, or there's a reason why the gluten got into the dog, then that could be why it's reoccurred, which I know, Petra, you've probably heard this before, but for the purposes of people that haven't, I think there's a lot to be said for this, I think. I'm quite proud of this student because she's really deep dived into this. And I knew that Border Terriers had the issue and Bassets sometimes, but there seems to be a lot of dogs now that are really having this gluten sensitivity. And it is painful for them. It does present as pain, you know, which is horrible to see for the guardian.
I think it's good to try. What I would normally do with these patients is put them like on a diet. In these cases, I prefer to give them slightly cooked instead of raw, to just see if it helps the digestion. And start with a new protein source, gluten-free, low in carbs, and just see how they go with it. But yeah, I like.
How would you typically put together, like if you're doing an elimination diet, do you have a favorite protein, or what do you normally use?
I sit down with the client and we go over what this dog has had their whole life. So I want to make a list of all the protein sources that the dog had, both food and snacks that they're given a lot. If it's snacks they're given every now and then, I don't really bother about it. But if they're given a lot and regularly, then I do. And then I just see, okay, what protein sources do we have left that the dog didn't get yet? And which of those protein sources is actually available and affordable for the client? Because I can say in the Netherlands that I want to put it on kangaroo or crocodile, but unless you're in Australia, that's not going to be a good option. So I try to find what do we have left. Horse is often something I like to use. Sometimes turkey. I also try to go a little bit with the Chinese medicine, like with the temperature of the proteins. So in these dogs, I don't like to use lamb. I don't like to use chicken, even if they didn't have that before. So I like to go to the more quiet, more cooler proteins because of the inflammation in there.
Yeah.
And then just find out what do we have left, what options do we have left, what is available for the client, and then work with that. Yeah.
Okie doke.
I have to say one last thing about this case. As a homeopath, when it says 3 weeks ago she suddenly relapsed, that would be my hook to try to find out. I would certainly spend some time, if I had this dog in my consulting room, what happened 3 weeks ago. You know, what happened in the family, what happened in the environment, what happened with the weather, what happened emotionally, practically, you know, was the house painted, was the dog, were the family on holiday, was, you know, what happened? Physically, mentally, emotionally. If the dog was fine, if a 2-year-old dog was fine for 18 months and then suddenly relapsed, something happened, which I would also investigate and think about.
What I also sometimes do, but that's more with if they only, because this one is doing it in the evening and in the morning. But sometimes the dog that only throw up on an empty stomach in the morning, sometimes it's helped to change up the feeding times. Because if these dogs get the food at the same time every day, they start anticipating, and with they start getting all the. So sometimes it's helped to switch that up so they don't anticipate it as much. But this one may be a little bit less relevant because she's doing it night and morning. But
yeah. The good news there, very clear that there's lot that can be done. Lots can be done.
Yeah, there's a lot, definitely.
It's to me, I mean, like you say, they haven't done endoscopy, you can't say for sure, but it's very unlikely that there's something, you know, there's not going to be something anatomically wrong. It's very, very unlikely that there's something there that isn't curable. You know, this sounds like an inflammatory condition, meaning that this will be a curable condition. And that's, you know, that should be the message. I think there's lots of ways in, but it should be completely curable. Also confirmed by the fact that the dog was completely fine for 18 months. So you know that this can go away. So it can definitely go away again.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah.
Good. Interesting. Thank you for that question. And it's nice to get all the detail as well. So we know a little bit more what we're talking about. Shall I read the next question? That's also a diet related question. Susie asks, I took my 2 cats aged 10 for a vet check for purpose of their insurance policies. I told the vet I didn't want any more vaccinations as they've had a lifetime of them and they never go anywhere. She said how amazing they are, beautiful coats, lovely teeth. She'd never know how old they were. Then commented, one is overweight. She said I should feed less kibble and remember it swells in the stomach. I said I don't feed kibble, I feed raw. To this, she pulled a face and said, do you realize your cats can get TB from raw food? I was so annoyed. I said I'd like to see the evidence, and she said there's plenty. It was documented by a Scottish vet school who fed cats in a trial raw, and they all got TB. I told my daughter, who's a vet nurse, and she said it was a trial done only feeding venison, as deer can carry TB, and it's known that cats shouldn't eat venison, but they can eat everything else. Also, it's only cats. Dogs can eat venison, no problems. Interested to hear your views. Have you heard about this?
Yeah, but
cats and raw and TB.
In my opinion, we're getting some things mixed up and confused here. So the first point is that, as far as I know, this was an epidemiological study. So there were a group of cats that got TB, and they got back epidemiology, and they related it to a certain brand of raw food that was venison related. And it was not, as far as I know, I might be wrong, it's not the other way around. So it's not like we feed cats raw, they get TB. No, there was an outbreak of TB, and it turned out to be related to one brand that obviously didn't do a good job in hygiene or checking or anything. So that's a little bit backwards.
Or very backwards. That's a very important point.
Very backwards. So saying that raw food, you in theory, you can get TB from raw food, but it's very, very rare. And also, it's not just venison. Yes, you have a higher risk with wild animals, mainly because the regulation is a little bit less strict from wild animals than it is for like beef or pork. It's better regulated. So the chance of something strange getting in is bigger, especially when they're really wild and you get it from a hunter or something like that. So yes, they can get it in theory, but it's extremely rare. And I think if you make sure that you feed it from a good company who makes sure they have good hygiene, they source their meat from reliable resources, and they do their checkups, that the chance of a cat getting TB from raw is like very minimal. And it's sometimes also like when we say feeding raw has risk, it's like saying, but that kibble does not have risks, but that's not true. I think feeding comes with risk, whether you feed kibble or canned or raw, even for ourselves, everything you put in your body carries a risk. It's just being as sensible, as responsible with it as you can. So making sure that you check your resources, where it's coming from. So I think that that's a couple of things are a little bit mixed up here, but yeah.
And I mean, Susie might like to just get hold of that paper, because that's clearly the vet has sort of, and that's often the case when you get things backwards, isn't it? These sort of stories that there's a grain of truth, and then suddenly it means it's taken to mean something that it can't actually support at all.
And that's also on one hand, I understand that vets are a little bit scared of raw food, but I think that's mainly because there are some people raw feeding their pets without actually knowing what they're doing and getting it really mixed up, and just feeding meat without the organs, without the bones, and we run into troubles. And that's what vets see. But we can do it on a really responsible way. And I think when we do it in a responsible way, it's not a bigger risk than kibble, because kibble can also be contaminated with bacteria and fungal and vitamin. So there's not one way of feeding that's 100% safe. It's just being responsible. And choosing wisely, and choosing like making a conscious decision about what's best for you, for your situation, your animal.
Yeah, and it is very common for vets to misunderstand raw, Susie. It really, really is, if they haven't looked into it deeply enough. And those that have tend to be the vets that come on this show, and they're like, hang on, what's really going on out there with food? And I'm guessing your cats just went there for a checkup, maybe just like because they're 10 and you wanted to double check everything was okay. I mean, really, at the age of 10, they're not senior cats. But I think the veterinary world, we're kind of led down this in the media as well, that you sort of got an old cat at the age of 10 and, you know, their lifespan and their longevity should be 20 odd, you know? So your cats are obviously doing incredibly well. And I love the way that the vet thought they were super healthy until she realized what they were eating.
That's funny, isn't it?
Yeah.
That's
Yeah,
what
no,
I
that you hear that.
hear
I
a
hear
lot.
that quite a lot.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, that's funny. Yeah, yeah.
I'm
So well
I'm
done, I think. Well done, Susie. It's not easy to feed cats raw. Us dog owners have got it easy, I think.
yeah. I'm just checking the thread, and Petra, who had the cockapoo that we just discussed, writes. She's clearly in sync with Anneke. She writes, "Thank you for your advice. A second microbiome test was sent off today."
Ah, good.
So, so that was good.
Yeah, curious what comes out of it. Let us know.
And Michelle says, "I'm away at Crufts
Mm,
next week. I need something
yeah.
convenient to feed short term,
Yeah,
air dried or freeze dried,
I
or another
saw this.
suggestion."
I saw this. Michelle, honestly, because you're at Crufts, you do not need anything. There are so many raw stats. Well, there's usually so many raw
Ah,
stats. So what I do, and this only obviously applies to Crufts or Pats or something, but I would just get it every day from a stall. They're normally going to a stand, should I say, not a stall, as in, but from a stand, because if you go in the morning on your way through to wherever you're going, you that will defrost safely and you'll be able to feed that. That's what I would do. But it does come up a lot. What's the next best thing? What can I feed instead? And I know it's not an answer that everybody wants, but it does depend on the dog. It really does, because it depends how resilient they are to a change of diet. So a dog like Petra's dog probably wouldn't be by the sounds of it, but then there'd be another type of dog that's been raw fed with no issues for years and years and years, and then they're quite tolerant of just having something different for a few days while you go away for the weekend. So it totally does depend on the dog, not necessarily what it is you're giving them instead, because we're all going to be avoiding the classics, aren't we? We're not going to be going into the supermarket and buying any of those sorts of brands, are we? So if you are looking for something with a higher meat content, they're really, I don't think, is a brand that I can hand on heart say, yes, it's got really good protein content. Yes, its sourcing's amazing. Yes, all of the nutrients are bioavailable, because I just tend to find that you'll get like a great brand for the other two, and then there'll be like magnesium and zinc oxide in it. And then you think, goodness me, you know, it just that I have never found one that ticked every single box in terms of it was great. So I think for the purposes of going somewhere like that, I would be looking at getting it from a stand. On the first day, you can take some. If you take a cool box, it'd probably still be all right with ice packs in, even the next day. So that's the sort of thing I do. And even when you go away, to go to a supermarket and find actual meat, that's what I would do. And I was talking about this with my students actually in the group, because I was saying I kind of princess my dog. And I'm just like, no, she's not having anything else. We're going to stop somewhere. And we're just going to find somewhere where I can even just get her like some tins of tuna, or just something that's actually still real meat. I always think that we can do this. In our mind, we're like, oh, we'll just get something or just put it in the bowl. But that's the old way of thinking. That's the kibble way of thinking. We don't need to be like that at all, because we're not going to be doing that for ourselves. We're not going to be taking that kind of food for ourselves. We're going to make sure that we go out and eat of an evening. So yeah, that's I wish there was this amazing other brand that you could just go, yeah, just feed this when you go away, all will be well. But that's really the reason why raw and fresh cooked food exist in the way that they do in the pet food market now, is because there isn't that wonderful brand that that everybody found worked. Anyway, that's just my rant about that.
I think I agree with you completely that it depends on the dog, because if you yourself, if you're very sensitive, you may need to bring food from home to be sure that you're getting stuff that you can tolerate when you're out and about, and others just eat whatever's there. And if you have a resilient dog like that, I wouldn't worry necessarily that it wasn't 100% complete meal, because you can eat almost anything if you're away for a weekend or a week or whatever. You don't have to have 100% complete meal in every day even. You just, you can, if you're a resilient person or a resilient dog, you can eat whatever's available, and it's what you eat over time that matters, not necessarily what you eat on any given day, depending on the individual.
And I don't know if you have it, because here we have a couple of brands that have like steamed option. So they have steamed meats that are actually pretty good. And they have quite a lot of proteins available. So some dogs, if they're really sensitive and they can only handle 1 or 2 proteins, that's what people can bring, because it's steamed and you don't have to keep it in a fridge or anything.
But so is it tinned or?
No, it's like a sausage.
Okay.
But it's just, it's steamed, so you can, because as long as you don't open it, you can keep it for longer. And we have it like, some are completed with vitamins, but some are just meat and organs. So for a couple of days, if you have a sensitive dog that can only handle rabbit or can only handle venison or something, that for some clients that works really well.
There were 2 tins that I purchased from a pet store that I was helping out at. And it was interesting because they were both pretty much, one was like 99% chicken and the other one was 100% chicken. One was £6 a tin for 400 gram. The other one was nearly £3, I think. And I just thought, I'm just going to get both of these and open them at home because I'm fascinated that 1%, Anyway, yeah. So the tin that was the 100% was the JR tin. I mean, whether you find that at Crufts, you might do, but they might give you one. I mean, £6 worth of tin. You want to try and get one for free if you can. And when we opened it, it was just like you'd cooked a load of chicken at home. I mean, it was a slightly bit more overcooked. The bones were incredibly soft. So it was a little bit like they'd shoved in chicken wings and things like that, and it had all cooked up. So that's possibly an option. The bones were so soft and broken down. There was no way they'd be in paction. I don't know what the percentage of it was or anything like that, but that was interesting. Whereas the other one was your classic, more meat meal based type. Even though, yes, it was 98-99% chicken, it was your meat meal based type, and it must have had something else with it when they cooked it. There was no veg or anything, but there must have been some broth or something. And it just, you can tell, but like the smell, immediately when something's processed. And this is what a lot of these brands, like the one you're sort of talking about with the pate, in the tube you said about in Holland, we've got similar things over here, and it's almost like the Maillard reaction or something shifts when they're cooked, and it just isn't really efficient for a healthy microbiome then. And I think, again, if you've got a resilient dog, you can get away with feeding them that for a weekend away. But if you haven't, then you soon find out, wouldn't you, when you're away? But then that's the worst time. If you're staying in a hotel, you don't want to find out then that your dog hasn't got a resilient gut or not as good as you thought it was. That's the last thing you want to be doing in the middle of the night, is finding somewhere to take the dog. So I don't know. I'm maybe too much of a purist, but I just think that there is always a way to feed real food. We just have to be a little bit more organized and think about where we're going to go and get it.
Yeah, it is. But for some people, it's really difficult to do when they're like camping for 3 weeks. And
3 weeks is
yeah. In those cases, I think it's good to have
you want to go fishing every day then, don't you? I mean,
you can make like a little fire, have a guitar.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
If you're away for that long, there's a reason. You're obviously in the mountains somewhere. You go.
Yeah, you can shoot a bear.
Take your gun. I was going to say, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. But for some people, yeah, ideally, of course, you would stay feeding fresh. But for some people, I don't think it's a disaster if you give your dog for one weekend a steamed option or a cooked option. Like for me too, I eat healthy, but every now and then I have some pastries because I have a special day or something. So I don't think it's a disaster to give them something else for 1, 2, 3 days. And yes, they're less good for the microbiome, but if you have a good resilient microbiome, it's not going to get off the charts of do really strange things if you give something a little bit more processed for 1 or 2 days. So yeah, in the ideal case, of course, I would prefer feeding the fresh diet, but if you're really in a difficult spot, I don't think you're going to damage or cause troubles with giving something a little bit more processed for a short period of time.
Yeah, exactly.
Absolutely.
Yes. So Carla on the comments is saying try before you go. You could.
Yes,
You could
definitely.
do face the loose stool when you're at home and you
Yeah,
can
definitely.
deal with it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I would almost say if someone is that sensitive, then you haven't really addressed their issue deeply enough. You know, I think
don't know, Lise. I mean, I've got people that clients of mine and their dogs, what we would call resilient, or friends of mine with dogs with resilient gut, and then it depending on what it is they choose, it somehow gives the dog a loose stool. I think it just you often sometimes don't even know quite what it is that's triggered it.
sure. And if you're away from home, I mean, that itself can upset someone's digestion. You know, if you're sleeping away from home and your daily life is disrupted, it may not even be the diet.
Good point. Good point.
Yeah, true.
Well, there we are.
There was a question. Amana says, I'm fostering a 1-year-old pregnant dachshund. When it comes time, I will be fostering it, I think, when it comes time to give birth. What are the best homeopathic remedies to give her to help? I think one sounds a little bit young to be pregnant, but maybe she's, 1 3/4 or something. Most of the time, I would say a dog giving birth is going to give birth and not needing help really during the process. But the number one homeopathic remedy, if you want to give something, would be arnica. And if you're not giving it during birth, it can, I mean, it's pain relief. It helps contractions. It's a good thing to do. If your dog is open to it, I wouldn't interfere. I wouldn't upset the dog by trying to get them to take it if they're just, if they're not in that space. But if you feel like you need to do something and your dog is upset and you can get to them, then absolutely I would give some arnica. And it's a good idea to give afterwards in any case. It helps with the bruising and the puppies get it as well. The mother's milk just becomes potentized. I wouldn't give anything into the mouth of newborn pups, but if you give the mother arnica, the pups are getting arnica as well. So I don't think there's going to be a great need, but arnica is always a good one around birth or immediately after birth. Definitely.
And lots of calm emotion as well, because you don't want to be panicking at all and putting any fear or stress into the situation, even subconsciously. So lots of calm, lots of being grounded yourself. And I've only been at a few births, but I remember the Pyrenean that we had, and they were just literally falling out of her, and it was like I would catch one and then that her owner would catch the other one, and then I would be in for it was like otherwise the poor thing would have landed on the ground. So it was like, they just came out so easily. I was absolutely amazed.
Yeah, it's a very different thing from a human labor. I mean, partly I think because they're smaller. I mean, they just come out easier. When you have multiple babies, it's not like the crowning of a human baby trying to be born. And also I think I mean, I don't know if that's fair to say, but I think the psychological aspect is often probably more difficult for a human, and dogs, it tends to be smooth. It tends to be something that we really just have to, like you say, be present, be calm, and not try to get in the way of it. which is also what I was thinking with the comment that, you know, don't feel like I have to give this dog Anneke, so you kind of maybe stress out the dog by trying to get them to take a pill when they're in the middle of labor. But Anneke is always a good one, if not during, then after. But yeah, it's most likely that it's going to go smoothly and not really need that kind of support.
Yeah.
Have you got any advice for birth or dogs in labor?
I basically really agree. So I think it's most important for the dog to feel safe, like it's being in a safe environment, that it has a safe spot, it feels safe with the people that are around there. So don't invite 10 friends to come and look.
Oh yeah.
Just be with the people the dog trusts, in a space the dog trusts, and just yeah, safety and relaxation. And yeah, I think that's the most important part. Yeah.
And that's also, no, we don't know what the situation is here, but it sounds like it's not, maybe not her dog, or the dog is not there yet.
Fostering. I think the dog is with her now. She's fostering her. Yeah. Rescue dog.
So I think, yeah, getting the dog to feel trusted and safe is probably very important, because the dog is in a new environment with new people.
It's a little dachshund, isn't it? And yeah, Mana's got 2 other little dogs. She's great with little dogs. She loves her little dogs. So yeah, I think it would be a wonderful thing, really wonderful.
And I think in that situation, exactly like you've said already, you know, that the dog doesn't arrive immediately before giving birth, but is in a safe environment. And if there are other dogs, that they are kept away, you know, so that the dog knows that they have their own space, they're safe, they don't have to protect their pups or feel threatened by other dogs wondering what's going on. So to keep them safe and you know, be with them, but keep the other dogs away. And I like you said about guests, is a really good point. You know, you want puppies to socialize and you want them to experience people and all of that, but not for the first, I would normally say about 3 weeks. I wouldn't allow visitors during that period. The mother needs to feel safe and calm and relaxed, and it's not a time to crowd around the puppies and strangers reaching out for them. And you know, that's for sort of 3 weeks plus, when they become more active and they start to eat and they interact with their environment more. Then you can start having guests over and sort of actively socialize the pups if the mother feels safe.
Yeah, I agree.
That's a good point.
So we've got a bit of time. Is there anything, Anneke, that you might want to share? Any subjects that are really important to you that you want to get across?
Yeah, I don't know how it is in the UK, but in the Netherlands, sometimes for owners who are more interested in holistic medicine, it's sometimes hard because not all vets are open to it. So I think it's just important that you find a vet that fits with you, that thinks with you, and that you stay the advocate of your own animal. So you don't have to agree with every vet. It's okay to have multiple opinions, to look if somebody else is a better fit for you. You don't have to take everything your vet said, even with me. You're allowed to disagree and to discuss. I think that's, as a pet owner, I think that's very important to know.
And an important part of that is also to be open about your preferences and your thoughts, because I find sometimes people will go to a random vet, you know, whoever's nearest and has the best prices or opening hours or parking spaces or whatever, and you go in and they say something you disagree with, and then you just sort of go away and criticize them online or something. And I think that's a little bit unfair. You know, you can do your homework, you can find out who they are, you can maybe call them up and ask a few questions, you know, what's your feeling about raw feeding or titer testing, or just sort of feel where they are. And then when you go, be open about what your expectations are. You know, if there's anything you're hoping for, or just, you know, and then exactly like Anneke said, take responsibility and be your dog's advocate. And if the vet is saying a lot of stuff that you just think, whoa, that's really not what I agree with, and it's not what I came for, and it's not what I want, I think the response that can be really useful in that situation is just to say, thank you very much for your advice. I'm going to go home and think about it.
Exactly.
Because then you can leave and you can think things through in your own time, in a safe space. There are very, very few situations that are truly urgent. If the vet is pushing things on you and want to give injections or want to arrange surgery or whatever it is, most of the time, 99% of the time, is not going to matter if things are postponed for one day. So just buy yourself some time to say, thank you for advice. I'm going to go home and think about it. Can really, give you that space to
I
think.
know, Lise, what they should be doing is always booking their appointments on a Wednesday or Thursday, and then they can come and ask us.
Yeah. But I find so often either that people feel really overruled, almost
Yeah.
told off, not
Yeah.
listened to, and more often than you would expect that things are actually done that they didn't want done, but just because they felt, they were the experts and they were really kind of raising their voices at me and they were really adamant. And I just think it's good to come in with that sentence prepared, that if I'm not happy with what's going on, I'm just going to say, thank you very much. I'm going to go home and think about it. And then you can come back, or you can contact them with follow-up questions, or, you've not burnt any bridges or slammed any doors, but you're still in charge of the situation and you can go somewhere else for a second opinion. And very, very few things are truly that urgent that you can't take a day or two.
Yeah, it should, in my opinion, it should be like a team effort. Like it's me giving options, it's me giving ideas, but the owner knows the dog best, and it's a team effort of finding where we can meet in the middle and what's best for this dog or cat at that moment. And yeah, I think that's important that you listen to each other. And
I see on groups a lot as well is people saying, please, can you give me the studies behind this or the studies behind that, perhaps show that it's okay to raw feed, or show that it's okay to only have puppy vaccines and not continue annually. And I think sometimes what we have to remember is it's not about proving ourselves. It's about, we have our own autonomy. And if you know that you've watched 10 holistic vet sisters and we've said a different protocol for vaccination, that's valid too. And then you have to determine what is your truth, what is it that you feel comfortable doing between the two options.
yeah, there's always multiple ways going to Rome.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And in most situations there are different ways to go.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's also just I mean, I had this conversation before with someone that shows up with an allergic dog, not understanding, that this is actually a chronic, per definition, incurable condition. But just wanted it fixed. I don't care what you do, give me something so it goes away tomorrow and stays away forever. And he's like, well, some things. I mean, Vicky said that.
It's quite
Vicky,
extreme.
No, but it's not that uncommon. People just, I don't care what you do, I just want you to fix it. And then
it's
if
more
the dog,
likely to happen with homeopathy or acupuncture than it is
but
Western
it happens in
medicine.
conventional medicine as well. They have an ear infection and it's treated, and then it comes back and the owners are quite offended. I thought you'd cured this. So sometimes it's also about understanding the situation and understanding that this is a process, and there are no quick fixes, and there are different routes that you can take, but you can't, we can't be, we have no right to good health. It's not like I've come to you, I paid you this money, my dog's not healthy yet. Vicky said that really well once, that sometimes you just need a couple of visits, even just for people to understand the process, that this is the way that this animal is, and you can't, you're stuck with it. So how are you going to approach it longer term? And just even settling down to that way of thinking can take a while for some people. We want quick fixes, we want solutions, and we wanted to get away and move past it, and that's not always possible. Sometimes it's about living with something. And
can I just give a shout out to my new webpage on the Natural Dog Expo? I made a web page called Holistic Vets. So it's a map of the UK, and I am trying to get everybody on there. I mean, I found loads. way more than I thought, because people say all the time, oh, there's not a holistic vet near me. And I'm like, I bet there is. So I thought I'm going to make this map and I'm going to put them all on there. And there are an awful lot on there. But if anyone watching wants to go to this, just go naturaldogexpo.com and you'll see the tabs, holistic vets. Have a look. If your holistic vet isn't on there, tell us at Holistic Vet Sisters, and I will add that to that vet to the.
That's going to be an amazing resource. It's amazing.
I
But
hope
can
so,
I just add to that in 99% of the cases, your holistic vet, they're not going to offer a first opinion, general veterinary practice.
Hopefully
but if you need
tell you that though,
sure,
when you contact them, and if you
sure.
did sort of, yeah.
But don't expect them to be your new GP vet instead of your current vet.
Yeah.
But they will be a holistic resource.
Yeah, but they're a second opinion, or some of them are integrative, and like Anneke working in a practice. So yeah.
No, but even Anneke is not in a first opinion practice, and that's kind of my point. That if someone knows acupuncture or homeopathy to the level of an expert, they're not going to be in general practice. So if someone is in general practice offering everything, I'd be slightly suspicious of their competence in all those things that they're offering. So you're not going to find a one-stop shop if you want quality care, but that's going to be a good resource to look at.
Yeah, and sometimes
we are
about
over time,
combining, isn't it? Like, it's also okay, because I have a lot of patients who go to different vets. Like I do the acupuncture, but I don't know anything about homeopathy, so they go to somebody else for that part, and we communicate and we just discuss between us. It doesn't always have to be one person doing everything, because it's impossible for one vet to do all and to know all. It's just too much.
Exactly. I think if you want proper care, proper conventional care, proper acupuncture care, then you need to go to different people. I mean, a jack of all trades is, I don't think, the best place to go. Someone who does a bit of everything. You want to go to the person who does this the best. If your dog is hit by a car and breaks a leg, you want the top surgeon. You don't want the homeopath.
No, exactly.
So yeah. Thank you so much for joining us, Anneke. That was a great pleasure meeting you.
Thank you for having me.
Hope you'll come back. We'd love to chat to you again.
Yeah, I would love to.
Thank you very much.